Back in the 80s, if you wanted to have a super cool fantasy RPG adventure, you were probably out of luck. Unless you had a friend that knew how to set up like Dungeons and Dragons, or he had one of those board games that took all fucking day to set up and take down. Sure, there was stuff around like Swordquest on Atari, but I mean, it didn't really hit the mark for a fantasy adventure. It was more like a puzzle game that was sort of set in a fantasy setting, and even then it was kind of more of a contest. There was stuff like LARPing too, but bunch of awkward nerds throwing socks at each other and waving foam swords around. I mean, it never really made anybody feel like much of a medieval fantasy hero, or any kind of fantasy or hero at all, really. There were games, of course, you know, like Final Fantasy and Zelda, which were great games in their own right and in their own times, surely. And when they were released, they were revolutionary. I mean, they still make games for both of these series today. We also had games like Bard's Tale, which apparently were really great, but I never really played any of those games, so they won't be in this video. Oh well. Though a lot of these games were great, they lacked things we've just kind of come to expect in games today, like depth, sound that doesn't sound like it's just made up of a bunch of electronic beeps and boops, and people that don't look like a series of squares on the screen. Fast forward to November 18th, 1994, a new game for the Super Nintendo hit the shelves called Ultima VII, The Black Gate. Yeah, 7. What the fuck happened to the other 6 games? I've never heard of them before this one. Don't care, there's a skull on the cover, and I'm about 10 years old, and I grew up in a strict and borderline abusive Christian household. Once I saw this on the shelf in the local movie rental shop that had a small little game selection in between all the different really awful movies, I knew I had to find a way to bring this home and play the shit out of it. I convinced my daddy that the skull on it wasn't any worse really than fire-breathing dragons assaulting plumbers and kidnapping helpless women, but it was probably better than Mortal Kombat. And the fact that the game had no obvious signs of blood or dismemberment like Mortal Kombat had at the time meant there was a good chance I could sell both my parents on letting me rent this and play it. So after a quick conversation at the rental place, we kind of took the thing home, and I was happier than I think I've ever been with a video game, and I hadn't even played this one yet. I know it was 1994, but you guys don't understand the conditions I kind of grew up under. I wasn't really allowed to play things every kid knew everything about, like Mortal Kombat, for instance, simply because there was just blood in the game. Like, that was it. That was enough for my parents to completely bar me from ever experiencing it. Even though we watch movies with blood and things like adultery, blood, that was crossing the fucking line. No blood in your games. So bringing home something where I might possibly get to cast spells and slay dragons, that was exciting as shit to me. I was fucking ecstatic. It summoned these visions of grandeur and adventure, the likes of which my approximately 10-year-old mind had never experienced. Possibly because I was a sheltered bumpkin. Finally pushing this thing into my SNES and turning it on was fucking immaculate to me. Simple, stupid title screen animation and song. This shit'll forever be burned into my mind. What? What the fuck just happened? The butterfly just exploded? Butterflies don't fucking explode, dude. This game is already insane. Did the people who make this game work with or for the devil? I think that's the goddamn devil right there. He's talking about taking over whatever the hell Britannia is. Am I going to hell if I continue to play this? Let's find out! No options, no fucking anything. You're just thrown into this strange land with a weird cartoony piece of salmon. And that music sounds like when kids dream about an evil clown or some shit on Goosebumps. Why is this homeless man walking up towards me? Why does every move I make on the menu sound like two glasses tapping together while they're in someone's hands? What is an evader? Like Darth Vader? That's me, I think. I don't look anything like Darth Vader, though. I, Iolo, have missed you. There has been a horrible crime? Oh, I can highlight crime and choose it. I guess maybe that's like me asking about the crime or something. There's no separation between any of these conversation options unless they're highlighted, so it just kind of looks like my guy is replying in some weird Native American movie speak. Crime Long Guardian again. Bye. Alright, whatever. I'll ask about the crime. Oh dear, that is quite a lot of reading. When do I get to fight bad guys and have adventures? There's no conversation options for dragons or quests or fighting bad guys or anything, so I guess this fucking dickhead doesn't know anything about any of that. Fellowship? I've heard that word before. Maybe there's a quest for Christ in it. My parents would love that shit. Then I wouldn't have to live in constant fear of them walking by while some blood spilled out of somebody during a fight scene or something. And the game being taken away forever. Oh my fucking god, is this enough words for you at the very fucking start of the game? I punch? What fantasy hero punches people? I can't fight bad guys with a punch. Maybe I get a sword later or something. Oh great, more fucking reading. Would it have killed the game makers to shorten this shit up just a little bit? Or at least like, just space it out in between other fun things to do? What the hell is this sound? Sounds like when you're searching for secrets in Doom. Okay, this music sounds pretty lively. Maybe something's going on in here. Nope. I punched a horse and it blew up. That's kind of exciting, I guess. Oh cool, a hammer. There's nothing really in here. Oh cool, a hammer. Again? Wait, surely that's not right. What the fuck? You can literally go back and forth in here and get as many hammers as you want and just sell them all at the local store until his inventory is just full of hammers. And then you can buy something that you want to buy. Oh my god, Ellen. Maybe I should take a fucking hammer to you since you look so fucking disgusting. I'm taking this milk. You obviously don't need any more of it, you fucking pig. Oh, by the way, there's leprechauns in your basements that are armed with explosives. Don't worry, I beat the shit out of them with a gold whip. I'll take your chicken and everything else in your basement as payment then. Nope, no option to tell her all about that shit? Alright, well that's fine, whatever. This stupid kidnapping that's happened seems to be all the game really gives a single shit about in the beginning. Even when there are clearly bigger things we need to be discussing. I'm Alfred, the guard. Ooh, my head. Yeah, bye. As a kid, I was almost in tears at how shit this was. Here I was, quite possibly lying to my parents, risking God knows what, all for the chance to go on this incredible adventure in this game through this fairy tale land, and it was going to be the only thing I had to play for a week at least. And so far, all I had done was read a lot about some stupid kidnapping I didn't give a fucking shit about. I'd rather go outside and play with a fucking stick and pretend it was a sword at this point. But I carried on for hours and hours and hours just trying to figure out what the hell this game wants me to do in this tiny little starting village, praying there'd be at least one more suicide bomber leprechaun to fight at least, after I finally escaped from this prison of poorly written and agonizingly boring dialogue. What it turns out that you need to do is get a password to give the guard, which is given to you by the mayor, which requires you to investigate the crime first. And by investigate, I mean scoot around from house to house, talking to every last fucking person in this village about the stupid kidnapping, only to find out, oh yeah, they might have gone in the next village, maybe by boat or something. I don't know. That's the first part of the game. That's what they open with to this. In 1994. This is a time when franchises are just starting, right? Like this is some of the first and maybe second games you see in some series. This is like make or break time. This is the gold rush of fucking video games. And this is how they opened this fucking game. The characters in the village all have absolutely nothing else to say to you before you talk to them in a very specific order. Like this fuckhead who just tells you to fuck off. But after you talk to some other people, he has a lot to say. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes perfect fucking sense. Yeah. This character is also supposed to be a child, but his dialogue kind of really doesn't read any differently from the other adults in town. It doesn't really make any sense. I'm not expecting him to talk like, you know, widow baby man or anything, but I mean, nothing distinguishes him by his dialogue or really his picture. They just say he's this guy's super young son. Whatever. Whoa, what the fuck's happening here? Somebody looking at me through a spyglass or something? Why does it keep getting smaller? What's going on? Apparently this is nighttime. Oh, you know, nighttime when everything is still well lit, but the black circle just slowly closes around us until we sleep. Would it have really been that hard to just make things slowly get darker? They even do it when you wake up from sleeping. Just do this, but do it in reverse. This doesn't make sense. The mayor just keeps reminding you that you haven't talked to people in a certain order yet, and that you need to do that every time you think you're done with this shit. Who is Connor? Where is Connor? Why should I give a fuck? I don't. I'm 10. I want to fight monsters. Finally, the stupid mayor gives you the password and you can get past the stupid guard. Guess somebody's left a whip on the ground here. Oh, okay. The sheep also explode when you whip them. What the fuck? Why does that sound so much louder than everything else in the game? I didn't like boost this. It's really just this loud. Where do these skeletons even come from? They can't even get to me? I can't fight them. What is happening? I've gained the second circle of experience, and now the third as well? What? What is a good word that sums up the experience I had as a kid with this game. I found myself saying what a lot when I played it as an adult too. They should have just titled this damn game What 7, the never-ending book with weird goosebumps music and basement-dwelling explosive fucking leprechauns. Use other door. At least the Pringles man makes an appearance. That's something. Fucking finally, alligators, something dangerous. Fuck you and your green ass. Come over, you piece of shit. Die! Snakes? This music is playing for some snakes, but not for the alligators. Just snakes and whatever the fuck this is. Now we're talking. Let's dance, fartso. Come on. Oh. He's fucking dead. There's also this really stupid thing once you reach the Capitol where you can open a jail cell and speak to the man in the jail cell once you walk in. But his profile picture still shows him speaking to you from behind bars. What is this? His MySpace photo? I sincerely hope someone was fired for this blunder. In that same jail basement, there's also a 4-man headless naked orgy waiting for you when you walk into the wrong fucking door. Like, seriously, what the fuck is this? What is this enemy? This is like Silent Hill. Inside the really strangely jolly sounding castle, there's some stupid red skull-faced assholes that talk all weird and they don't really tell you anything at all. Fuck you. There's also this idiot with his tongue out and either yellow teeth or a blonde mustache, and he plays some really awful game with you that's almost impossible to really understand when you're 10 and you don't have much patience and you just want to fucking fight monsters already. Guess what the reward is for getting to the end of this dumbass game? You find out you'll have to join the Fellowship to find out their true purpose. It's already established through piles of dialogue this game seems to center itself around that the Fellowship are an awful organization that treats people who aren't members like shit and lets them starve in the street, while doing super charitable things for people who become members of the Fellowship. It's also already established that once people join the Fellowship, they abandon old friends and even family because the Fellowship probably tells them to do that. This is like the fucking Westboro Baptist Church or that other weird religion that one science fiction writer came up with while he was on Quaaludes. I don't know, something to do with ancient aliens. Why even bother including this in the first place, let alone making it a reward for figuring out some really weird dialogue game thing? What a waste of time. Up north, some giant Japanese men throw boulders at you and you have to whip their leathery tits to show them who the fuck is boss. To the west, there's devils. Really hope my parents don't see that. By the way, the bow sucks. Worst weapon in the whole fucking game. To the east, there's a town where literally everyone is just throwing their trash where the fuck ever. And the whole town's just cool with that going on until you deliver some stupid ass letter from Lord British to Lord Heather that just says, stop throwing your trash everywhere, you fucking apes. Can you imagine if your neighbors just threw all their trash on the ground like animals and they would never stop doing that until someone came with a piece of paper from like the mayor or the president or whatever that told them to just fucking cut that shit out? Anyway, I never really did much after this in this game. I never beat it as a kid, and I don't care to fucking beat it now. Oh, there is one more thing I really need to show you, because there is no way anyone will ever believe me if I don't. Remember the jail basement that had the 4 naked goober Silent Hill things that come at you? Well, there's a ladder to a dungeon in there. This huge dungeon, one of the biggest areas in the whole game, apparently. There's literally shit everywhere in this fucking dungeon. Spiders, rats, devils, and these ghosts that do actually go through walls and come and try to kill you. But they can also be hit with swords and whips. Yeah, whip that fucking ghost! There's even these weird little things that look like they'd be more at home in like a swamp map or Secret of Evermore or something. I don't know what they are and no one cares. Giant scorpions, bone boys. All these monsters are extremely pissed off all the time, and they all respawn anytime they're barely out of sight, including the fucking ghosts. Just look at this shit. Ghosts are constantly up your ass in this place because there's absolutely nothing you can do but stop and whip the shit out of them every time they respawn. It's such a pain in the ass. Weird, overly complicated system of keys and switches in which every key looks the same and it's named like it's the same, but each key goes to a specific door. How do you know which key goes to what door? you don't. The keys also don't just work when you interact with a door. You have to literally select each key from your backpack and see if it works on the door when you stand in front of it. And sometimes none of them do. And you just have to go back and look everywhere and trudge through about 100 fucking ghosts and naked dudes and devils to get the fucking key you need. Hey look, leprechauns are here too. There's also this red door that opens with one of the keys, but it doesn't lead to anything. Great. Oh yeah, and it's dark in the dungeon, and you keep having to cast your light spell to be able to see anything. And some doors don't unlock with the keys, you have to use a door unlocking spell, and your magic regenerates like old people fuck. So this dungeon includes a lot of just literally sitting around and waiting. Fun stuff. I spent a whole day in this dungeon as a kid, just knowing that the migraine it was giving me would surely lead to some amazing prize at the end. A cool magic sword, an amulet that gives me unlimited magic points, armor that makes you invincible, maybe even a fight with an evil wizard or something. Take a guess what's at the end of this dungeon. I bet you $1,000 you will never, ever in a million years guess what's waiting for you when you get through this fucking toilet. Okay, this doesn't look like the dungeon I was in. The music's different now too. Oh, and now the skeletons have come back. Just super. Wait, I know this music. What the fuck? No. This dungeon lets out into the fucking castle? Why? This is the first game as a kid that literally made me throw my controller down and cry out,
"That's bullshit!"
and not care if anybody heard me. It taught me to never believe hard work would always be rewarded, or just because something was difficult that there would be some silver lining somewhere that you could take away from it. This dungeon, in a way, made me into the monster that I am today. It was also at this point that, as a child, I turned the SNES off and I didn't play that shit for a long fucking time. I just didn't want to play any video games for a long time after this. I felt as though I had been betrayed. I came away from this game in pain and anger, the likes of which no person could have ever inflicted on me. That's it, really. That's all I ever played on Ultima VII Blackgate on SNES.
しかし、ハズン君、これは比較ビデオない?
Yes, Kona-kun, it is. 2 years prior to this unfinished turd that was shat out by FCI Pony Canyon, which is an awful name for a developer studio, and I'm really glad it didn't last very long. The same game was made for DOS on PC, and it came out in a series of a bunch of floppy disks. A lot of you watching this video probably don't know what the fuck a floppy disk is. Be thankful, they were awful things. There is not one single thing that wasn't done 100 times better on the DOS version of the game on PC. Remember that awful opening on the SNES version? With the butterfly that fucking explodes for some reason? Here it is again on PC. Just take a look at this. Right away, the music sounds better. And there's voice acting.
Avatar! Know that Britannia has entered into a new age.
This guy felt genuinely scary to me when I was a kid. You actually get to see that there's a person in the real world who travels from Earth to Britannia that's known as the Avatar there. That stupid piece of salmon, I guess it's actually a portal. It looks like one now. Holy shit, this town looks amazing compared to the SNES version. The dialogue is broken up into small chunks. There's a party system. The music isn't just some 14-second loop of garbage. The kidnapping is now a violent satanic murder of some little white boy and some demon slave farmhand guy. I know we could never have gotten this game on SNES, especially since it was 10 times larger of a file than one Super Nintendo cartridge could ever have even holded. But come on, you're telling me this was the best they could do? Here's a helpful flowchart that you can use to decide whether or not you should port a game to your system. The only thing in this game that especially frustrated me was how the hell to use a fucking key on a chest or a door at first. It's needlessly complicated even in this vastly superior version of the game. The investigation that you have to do at the beginning of the PC version, way more nuanced, way more interesting. And if you've done it all before already, you can just skip it actually by reporting to the mayor all the stuff you already know. Also, this is the young son of the guy who got murdered in the PC version. He's ripped like a fucking superhero. His weapon's a slingshot. That's not to say that this is a perfect game. It's not without its faults, but they're few. They're much farther in between, and they're not infuriating. I didn't really like how uninteractive the combat was in the PC version. I guess that could be chalked up as a score for the SNES version. It will certainly be the only fucking thing. You can also do almost anything you want in this game, short of playing a skateboarding minigame, I guess. You can go on quests, the townspeople all have an awful lot to say, but you don't have to listen to them if you don't care. You can move objects with telekinesis, work as a baker. There's a lot of interesting places to explore, and a lot of them look really unique and feel different. You can learn a whole lot of spells that do all sorts of crazy shit, like change the weather, blast enemies, and make food. You'll be casting that spell a lot too, because these motherfuckers eat like those girls on those body positive pages, boy. You know the ones. My god, do they eat. Sometimes like multiple loaves of bread and shit aren't enough to satiate their ungodly hunger. It's a wonder to me that anything in this world even gets done for all the food they need to eat just to be able to walk around. The townspeople all sort of talk amongst themselves too, even if you're not really listening or even near them. You can see text popping up from outside of the buildings. Buildings are also part of the overworld, not their own separate instances that you walk in and out of. This makes the PC world feel much more alive than the one on the Super Nintendo, where everyone just feels like gassy-ass cardboard cutouts and they're just sort of there to pad out the playtime with needless dialogue. It doesn't matter if you write a bunch of words down that characters say. If the characters don't feel like living, breathing people, your players aren't going to give one shit about them. It's mind-blowing to me how fucked up the SNES version is. It's actually night and day. The PC version of Ultima VII is one of my favorite games of all time. It's easily in my top 10, maybe even near or at number 1. When the same exact game that was made by a small team in the same studio was ported to the Super Nintendo is undoubtedly one of the worst games and experiences that I've ever had in or out of any video game of any kind. I have worked retail jobs that I have enjoyed being at more than playing Blackgate on the fucking Super Nintendo. I don't know what more there is to say, really. I can't believe they fucked this shit up this bad. I can't believe someone at Origin looked at this and said, yes, that's fine, go ahead, release that. Someone built this from scratch. They looked at it. Their team looked at it. Someone else looked at it. Then Nintendo looked at it. No one stopped this from happening. If only one of these people had spoken up and said, you know, maybe this is shitty. This isn't really that good. We probably shouldn't release this, man. This is bad. It's going to stain our reputation, and our game's brand is going to be fucking, you know, maybe we shouldn't do. This could have all been avoided. Like I said, this was the early 90s. This was like the gold rush of video games. Console gaming was the king in those days. Most games that continue on nowadays and are super popular were ones that became popular in the late 80s and early 90s on consoles like Sega and Nintendo. Origin and Ultima still had a huge following back in the day, and there's still people who love them now, even after EA closed the studio and named their god-awful games marketplace platform after them. But imagine, for a moment, that a really, really great version of Ultima VII came out on Super Nintendo. Maybe not as good as the PC version, but just something that was good. At all. Imagine a world where Ultima games were still being made alongside things like Elder Scrolls, Zelda, The Witcher. Wouldn't that just be fucking phenomenal? The Ultima series survived long enough to make 7 sequels at least, and a couple more after this, and one of the world's first MMOs that was played really widely before World of Warcraft ever even came out, called Ultima Online. Don't you think that it might have been possible that had the series picked up on console in the early 90s, and had Origin continued to manage their property well, that we might have had more Ultima games with the kind of technology and the kind of shit we see in games now that make them so much farther ahead than a lot of games back then? There's just so much more possibility now. Ultima could have been a legend in gaming, possibly, if they just would have gotten this one fucking thing right. But they didn't. Oh well, I guess we'll never know now. Thanks so much for watching this video to those of you who made it this far. I never thought I'd get the attention I have on YouTube or Twitch, and I don't know how to thank those of you that have subscribed on both formats, watched my videos, and shared my content enough. I'd like to ask if there are any particular games or movies out there that any of you would like to see reviewed or compared to one another. If so, feel free to email me, tweet at me, or join my Discord server, all of which are linked in the description below. I do also have a Patreon, but I don't have a lot of content out right now, and I certainly wouldn't want anyone to feel obligated to donate anything to me. Even for $1 a month, I'll credit you in my videos though. I would love to be able to spend more time making these videos and entertaining people, so if you do decide to pledge a little bit or just subscribe to me on Twitch with your Amazon Prime subscription or something, just know that it is a great help to me, and I appreciate everything you guys have done and are doing for me. The biggest help though is something that you can do for free. Just sharing my YouTube videos and subscribing to me on YouTube does more for me than you probably think. Also leaving a like or even a dislike if you didn't like the video, or leaving a comment in the comments section. It's all very helpful, believe it or not. Check out some of my other videos too. This one is comparing Civ 5 and Endless Legend, two great 4X turn-based strategy games. People seem to like that one a lot. I'll be making a video comparing Civ 5 and Civ 6 soon as well. This is an ad I made for the dank prestige edition of Dark Souls 3. Everyone who sees it seems to love it, but it's not gotten a lot of attention because I don't know how YouTube's algorithms work, to be honest. Or maybe it's just not that good. Also, be sure to check out Vaselikov's channel, who's been a great help to me, does awesome and funny animations, and is an all-around sick cunt. Also, check out Boone on Twitch. He's sort of a new streamer, and he's getting a lot of attention, and he's really wonderful and a big help to me as well. And maybe give Vodovoz a sub as well, if you haven't already, as I've copied his voice and style for many a joke, including this one. Thanks for watching! Good night, and good flight!